I played in the Senior Bowl, and obviously the Chiefs was my coaches in the Senior Bowl. Hard work, and so after talking to my agent and everything, he said Kansas City Chiefs are a team that really draft a lot of HBCU guys.
Touchdown! You remember that 1978 draft for the Chiefs? 5 HBCU players were drafted. But integration settled in major college football in the 1980s. Now, there were a fair share of HBCU players drafted in the 80s and 90s. As discussed, Albert Lewis, Fred Jones out of Grambling were draft picks for the Chiefs. Teams have caught up quick.
Many of the great ones who came from the historic black colleges and universities were getting older and were beginning to retire. And also by that time, all these other teams in the National Football League, which we were all part of at that point, began to see the value. So they constantly went back there again and again. It became a lot smarter move.
There were some guys missed out on: Richard Dent, Jerry Rice in the 80s, Shannon Sharp, Michael Strahan, and Aeneas Williams for the 90s. All of those guys, Hall of Famers.
Because of segregation, just a belief that, these guys can't play. They're in these small colleges, the coaching's bad. With integration, the pipelines from black high schools to black colleges dried up. And all of a sudden, you got scouts from white colleges throughout the South, scrambling.
If you've had the kind of successes that occurred years ago, and you saw the outcomes, which was in this team's benefit, their first Super Bowl, and took 50 years to get back. Well, didn't it work before? Okay, so if it worked before, it shouldn't be a novel thing to have to struggle to answer the question again.
They did still find some HBCU talent. Starting in the 90s, Tim Barnett from Jackson State.
I had a coach, his name was W.C. Gordon, and I remember my freshman year when I got there. The first meeting we had, he said, "My name is W.C. Gordon. I want to explain to you what WC stand for." And he said, "We'll cut, won't care, and we'll call your parents to come pick you up."
Coach Gordon's advice paid off. Barnett went into third round.
He instilled that in us. You got to work hard. You got to work hard. And he always said, work harder than everybody else. When everybody is asleep, you got to be up working.
He was only in the NFL for 3 seasons, amassing over 1,000 yards receiving in the process.
Draft 2000, the Kansas City Chiefs select Sylvester Morris, wide receiver, Jackson State.
Presented all kinds of problems for the small college defensive backs that you went up against. Had 17 touchdowns.
The Chiefs put more stock into a receiver also from Jackson State, and Sylvester Morris, who was well aware of Chiefs history.
It was outstanding. I mean, you get this meeting living legends. These guys paved the way. They laid the foundation for black college kids to be able to be scouted and come to the NFL because of the outstanding jobs they did once they were given the opportunities.
As a first-round pick, he was hoping he could make a significant impact.
By going to a HBCU, you get to I met a lot of guys who I actually had heard of before, the Buck Buchanans, Otis Taylors. You get to Willie Lanier, you get to meet these guys and see them, and you understand you are becoming part of a tradition that's way bigger than yourself.
I do a lot of research. I just like football. I've always loved football, watched football my entire life. So I pretty much knew a lot about the Chiefs coming in.
Morris got off to a strong start, but wasn't able to make a long-term impact as much as he wanted, riddled with injuries throughout his career. But the HBCU after the early 2000s dried up. Safety Greg Wesley was in the same draft class with Sylvester Morris in 2000 from Arkansas Pine Bluff. He played 8 seasons, but it was the entire NFL after the 2000s that dropped off. A chart from Football Perspective showed total HBCU players after 2001 never reached above 10 players.
Still aspects of our society where black talent is not appreciated, and not giving an opportunity. So the level of hunger for so many of those kids might have thought, well, if I go to black college, nobody would see me.
And again, the easy answer, the need and want to go to Power 5 schools. And every HBCU is what was then at IAA, now referred to as FCS. Past players realize this is the new reality, but question why it left so precipitously.
The National Football League, all those years ago, had come forward. Buck Buchanan was the first, I believe, #1 draft choice in both leagues in the NFL history. So it was not anything new, but then for some reason it fell off the cliff. And with that, it has to be a continuum where those things are not allowed to fall off the cliff.